Captain Wu stood in the Grand Assembly Hall and felt his jaw tighten. The massive chamber stretched out before him like a cathedral made of metal and glass. Hundreds of alien species filled the seats, their eyes fixed on the center platform where he stood next to Dr. Bora. The air smelled strange. A mix of different atmospheres blended together for all the species present. Above them, Chancellor loomed on a floating platform. The leader had skin like polished stone and eyes that glowed with a cold blue light. His voice boomed through the hall without needing any speaker system. "We have reviewed humanity's progress over the past 50 years, announced. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision." Wu glanced at Bora. The scientist's hands gripped her data pad so hard her knuckles had turned white. They both knew this review had been coming, but something felt wrong. The whispers in the halls, the way other species avoided their eyes in the corridors. Bad signs. "Humanity was granted Tier 2 status when they joined our great community," continued. "We had hopes they would grow and evolve. We expected them to learn our ways of peace and advancement." Another alien shifted forward. This was the Trade Master. His body looked like a collection of floating crystals arranged in a vaguely human shape. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes. "Instead," said, "we have witnessed continued aggression. Human colony ships push into territories without proper authorization. Their military grows faster than their culture. They consume resources at alarming rates." Wu wanted to speak, but protocol demanded silence until addressed directly. He forced himself to stay still. "We have reviewed their technological progress," added. "Humanity has contributed little to the collective knowledge. They copy our designs rather than innovate. They are stuck in old patterns of thinking." Now Bora stepped forward, unable to contain herself any longer. "That's not true, if you would just look at our data." "Silence," his voice cracked like thunder. "You will speak when permitted." Bora's face flushed red with anger and embarrassment. Wu put a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "The Council has voted," declared. "Humanity is hereby downgraded from Tier 2 developing species to Tier 3 probationary species, effective immediately." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Around the chamber, various aliens made sounds of approval. Some looked sympathetic, but most seemed satisfied. A few even looked pleased. "What does this mean for us?" Wu asked, his voice carefully controlled. Crystals rearranged themselves into what might have been a smile. "All trade agreements are suspended pending review. Access to galactic technology databases is revoked. Your defense packs are. Human vessels are restricted to designated trade routes only." "You're cutting us off," Bora said quietly. "We are protecting you from your own limitations," corrected. "Perhaps with proper guidance and restrictions, humanity will learn humility. You have 90 days to vacate stations in sectors 12 through 28. Wu felt something cold settle in his stomach. Those sectors contained some of humanity's most important colonies. Thousands of people would need to be relocated. Supply lines would collapse. They were being strangled. "This is a mistake," he said, louder now. "Humanity has always risen to challenges. You're not protecting us. You're setting up your own failure." Laughter rippled through the assembly. Not cruel laughter exactly, but the kind adults give to children who say silly things. Looked down at him with something like pity. "Such human arrogance," the Chancellor said. "This is exactly why you need this lesson. You believe your primitive aggression makes you strong. You think your stubborn nature is a virtue. The galaxy does not reward violence, Captain. It rewards wisdom and cooperation." "May I at least present our research findings?" Bora asked. "We've made breakthroughs in energy efficiency, medical technology, and—" "Statistical anomalies," interrupted. "We have reviewed your data. Any species can achieve random successes. What matters is consistency and alignment with proper methodology. Your scientists work in chaos, not order." Bora's data pad trembled in her hands. Years of work, dismissed in seconds. Wu could see tears forming in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Is there any appeal process?" Wu asked. "In 5 years you may request another review," said. "If humanity demonstrates proper growth and abandons its violent tendencies, we may reconsider. Until then, accept this judgment with grace." The Chancellor made a gesture, and the floating platform began to rise. The meeting was over. Just like that, 50 years of human effort and progress had been erased. As they walked out of the assembly hall, other alien delegates passed by them. Some looked apologetic, others smirked. One species that looked like walking plants even hissed at them. Wu kept his head high and his hand on Bora's elbow, guiding her through the crowd. Outside the hall, they found themselves in a corridor overlooking the station's main dock. Ships of every shape and size floated in the vacuum beyond the transparent walls. Human ships, marked with Earth's blue and white, looked small and primitive next to the sleek alien vessels. "How could they do this?" Bora finally spoke. Her voice was thick with emotion. "We've worked so hard. We've followed every rule, tried to fit in, contributed everything we could." "It wasn't enough," Wu said. "Or maybe it was too much. Maybe they saw us as a threat." "A threat? We're barely keeping up with the lowest Tier 2 species." "Are we?" Wu turned to look at her. "Or have we just been playing by their rules, using their technology, following their methods, trying to be what they wanted us to be?" Bora wiped her eyes. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe this downgrade is the best thing that could happen to us." Wu looked back at the human ships. "They want to see what humans do when cornered, when we're cut off from their help and forced to survive on our own." A slow smile spread across Bora's face. "We show them what humans are really capable of." "Exactly." Wu pulled out his communicator. "I need to contact Earth immediately. We have 90 days to evacuate those sectors, but that's also 90 days to start preparing." "Preparing for what?" "For showing the Galactic Council that they just made the biggest mistake in their history." He looked back at the assembly hall one last time. "They think we're primitive, aggressive, unable to innovate. Good, let them think that. Let them underestimate us." Bora stood, her scientific mind already working through possibilities. "If we're no longer restricted by their technology licensing agreements, we can build anything we want," Wu finished. "Our way, human way." They walked toward the docking bay where their ship waited. Behind them, the Grand Assembly Hall continued its business, already moving on to other matters. The Council had made its judgment and dismissed humanity as unimportant. They would regret it. 3 months had passed since the downgrade. Admiral Min stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital defense station and watched the construction below. Dozens of ships were being built simultaneously, their frames glowing with welding torches that looked like fireflies in the darkness. "How many?" he asked his assistant. 43 new vessels in this facility alone," the young officer reported. "Twice that number across the other stations. Production has increased by 300% since the Council cut us off." Min nodded slowly. The Council had expected humanity to collapse. Instead, they had lit a fire under every human colony in space. People were angry, more than angry. They were motivated. On the other side of Earth, in a massive underground facility, Engineer Wu hunched over her design table. Holographic blueprints floated in the air around her. She manipulated them with quick hand gestures, adjusting angles and measurements. "This won't work," her assistant said, pointing at the engine design. "The power requirements are impossible." "Impossible with galactic technology," Wu corrected. "But we're not using their systems anymore. Look here." She pulled up another screen. "Humans have always been good at one thing, taking something that works and making it better." The engine design she had created looked nothing like the standard galactic faster-than-light drive. It was smaller, more compact, and according to her calculations, 30% more efficient. If this works, her assistant whispered, we won't need their jump gates anymore. When this works, Wu corrected, when not if. She had been working for 72 hours straight. Her eyes burned and her back ached, but she couldn't stop. Every time she thought about resting, she remembered his condescending smile, the way he had spoken to them like children, the laughter from the assembly. It fueled her like rocket propellant. Meanwhile, on a small trading station near the edge of galactic space, Merchant Captain Young sat across from a very nervous alien. The creature looked like a large slug with multiple eyes, a member of the species. You understand this is risky, the said quietly. If the council finds out I'm trading with humans. Then don't get caught, Young said cheerfully. He pushed a case across the table. Here's what we discussed. Medical supplies, unregulated and untraceable. Your people need them. We have them. The council's restrictions say we can't trade through official channels. They said nothing about unofficial ones. The eye stalks waved nervously, but his tentacle reached out and pulled the case closer. And in exchange, information, trade routes. Let us know where the council isn't looking. Young smiled. We help each other. Isn't that what the galactic community is supposed to be about? This same scene was playing out across dozens of stations. Human merchants, cut off from official trade, had simply found new ways to do business. Some aliens sympathized with humanity's situation. Others just wanted good deals. Either way, goods and information flowed despite the council's restrictions. Back on Earth, Dr. Bora stood in front of a massive screen covered in data. Around her, hundreds of scientists worked at terminals. The research facility hummed with activity. The council gave us access to their technology database for 50 years, she said to her team. We learned everything we could from them, but we were always trying to copy what they did, trying to think like them. She pulled up an image of a standard galactic power cell. They build these to last forever. They're efficient, stable, and completely standardized. Every species uses the same design. Then she pulled up a human design. It looked rough, unfinished, almost primitive by comparison. We build these to be modified. They're not as stable, they don't last as long, but we can adapt them for any purpose. We can combine them, split them, overclock them. We can do things the galactic model can't even attempt. One of her scientists raised a hand. But Dr. Bora, isn't that inefficient? Efficient for what? She challenged. If you want something that never changes, yes, the galactic way is better. But if you want something that can adapt to new situations, respond to unexpected problems, evolve with new discoveries, she smiled. Then inefficiency becomes flexibility, and flexibility becomes strength. The research team went back to work with new energy. They weren't trying to catch up to galactic technology anymore. They were creating something different, something human. Admiral Min received a report that made him pause. Colony ships that should have been struggling were thriving. Settlements that should have collapsed without galactic support were becoming self-sufficient. Human nature, it seemed, responded well to being told, you can't do this. He pulled up a communication channel. Status report from all colonies. One by one, reports came in. The Mars colonies had developed new food production methods. The asteroid miners had found ways to extract resources more efficiently. The outer colonies had started building their own defense networks. Sir, his assistant said, they have sent a trade inquiry. Min raised an eyebrow. Haven't they heard? We're downgraded, Tier 3, not worth their time. Yes, sir, but the assistant looked confused. They're asking to buy our medical supplies. Apparently, our pharmaceuticals are more effective than their current suppliers. A slow smile crossed Min's face. What's the price? They're offering standard rates. Triple it. Sir, you heard me, triple the price. They voted to restrict us. Now they can pay premium rates if they want our products. Min leaned back in his chair. Inform them we're very busy with our Tier 3 responsibilities. Maybe we can fit them in next month." The assistant grinned and went to send the message. 6 months after the downgrade, Wu's new engine design passed its final test. The prototype ship jumped across the test range in half the time of a standard galactic vessel. More importantly, it did so without using any galactic infrastructure. No jump gates, no waypoints, complete independence. She sent the data to every human colony simultaneously. Within weeks, ships began retrofitting with the new design. Human vessels started appearing in places the Council thought were beyond their reach. Faster, more efficient, completely off the grid. Young sat in his ship's cockpit and watched a galactic patrol cruiser try to track him. They couldn't. His new engine didn't leave the same energy signature as galactic drives. To their sensors, he simply vanished and reappeared somewhere else. "This is fun," he said to his co-pilot. "I could get used to this." They jumped again, this time appearing near a remote mining colony. The settlement had been flagged for evacuation by the Council. Too far out, too expensive to supply, not worth maintaining for a Tier 3 species. But the colony was still there, still operating, still growing. "Delivery from Earth," Young announced over the comm. "Medical supplies, mining equipment, and about 5,000 entertainment files, courtesy of humanity's new independent trading network." The colony controller's voice came back filled with relief and joy. "We thought we'd been forgotten." "Forgotten, never, just freed." Young checked his navigation. "Next stop is New Sol Colony. They need engine parts. Can you pass the word? Tell everyone the Council can restrict us, but they can't stop us." Back on Earth, Dr. Bora compiled 6 months of research data. The results were stunning. Freed from the pressure to conform to galactic standards, human scientists had made breakthroughs in 17 different fields. Not just small improvements, revolutionary changes. She sent her report to Captain Wu, who had returned to Earth to coordinate the response to the downgrade. He read through it and shook his head in wonder. "They called us stagnant." "They expected us to collapse," Bora said. "They thought cutting us off would force us to beg for readmission. Instead, we're thriving, growing, innovating faster than ever before." She pulled up a star map. Human territory was expanding, not through conquest but through trade, alliance, and settlement. "We're not playing their game anymore, we're playing ours." Wu looked at the map for a long moment. "The Council is going to notice soon." "Let them notice," Bora said. "What are they going to do, downgrade us again?" They both laughed. It felt good. Commander Haywon was drinking terrible coffee when the emergency alert sounded. She set down her cup and moved to the bridge of her frigate, the Determination. Around her, the crew scrambled to their stations. "Report," she ordered. "Multiple contacts entering the outer rim," her sensor officer called out. "Massive signatures, hundreds of them. They're not following any known flight patterns." Haywon pulled up the display. Her blood went cold. The signatures looked like a swarm of insects. They moved in chaotic patterns, splitting and merging, completely unpredictable. She whispered. Everyone on the bridge went quiet. The swarm were a nightmare species that lived on the edge of known space, parasitic creatures that consumed everything in their path. The Galactic Council had defensive pacts to keep them contained in their region. But something had changed. "They're heading straight for the colonies," her tactical officer reported. Haywon keyed her comm. "This is Commander Haywon of the Human Defense Force. All ships, status report." 5 other frigates responded. Her entire task force. They were supposed to be patrolling human colonies in this sector, small colonies that the Council had forced them to evacuate to. But the human settlers had refused to leave, so Haywon and her ships had stayed to protect them. Now they were the only military force in this entire region. "Distress signals coming in," her communications officer said. Multiple colonies under attack. They're requesting assistance from anyone. Forward it to Galactic Defense Command, HFY ordered. They waited. 10 minutes passed, 20. They kept advancing. Colonies went dark one by one. Finally, a response came through. All units are advised the situation is under review. Tier 1 response forces are being mobilized. Estimated arrival time, 72 hours. HFY's tactical officer looked at her in disbelief. 72 hours. Those colonies will be wiped out in 6. She stared at the display. The Council's procedures, their careful protocols, their proper methodology, all useless when faced with an enemy that didn't follow the rules. Commander, her second-in-command said quietly, we should protect our colonies. That's our mission. Our colonies are 40 light-years behind us, HFY said. They will hit them eventually, but not for weeks. Those colonies ahead of us, they have hours at best. They downgraded us, someone muttered. They did, HFY stood up. But we're still human, and humans don't watch people die when we can do something about it. She turned to her comm officer. Contact Admiral Min. Inform him of the situation and our intentions. Then signal all ships. We're moving to engage. The small human fleet jumped forward. On Earth, Admiral Min received HFY's message and immediately contacted Captain Wu. She's doing what? Wu said. Engaging to protect colonies, Min reported. 6 frigates against an estimated 1,000 fighters. That's suicide. That's human. Min pulled up tactical displays. The Council's response is typical: careful review, proper mobilization, by-the-book procedures. They don't care about their book. Wu watched the data stream in. Can we get her support? Not in time, but I'm scrambling everything we have in adjacent sectors. Min paused. She might just pull this off. The fight in chaos. Galactic forces can't adapt to that. Their AI systems are built for logical warfare, but humans. We're pretty good at chaos, Wu finished. In the Outer Rim, HFY's fleet dropped out of FTL directly into Hell. They had already swarmed 3 colonies. Their ships looked like metallic insects, all sharp angles and twitching movements. They flew in patterns that made no tactical sense, splitting up, regrouping, darting randomly. All ships switched to manual control, HFY ordered. Disable combat AI. Commander, her weapons officer questioned. The AI tries to predict enemy movement based on logic. They don't use logic. We need human instincts. Trust your gut. Don't think, react. It went against everything the Galactic Council had taught them. Careful planning, measured responses, systematic engagement. But HFY had watched the tactical reports. Galactic ships were being torn apart because their AIs couldn't process this chaotic movements. Engage at will, she ordered. Fight dirty. The human ships dove into the swarm. What happened next would be studied for years. The human frigates moved like fighters, dodging and weaving through the formation. They didn't try to maintain formation. They didn't follow tactical protocols. Each ship acted independently, adapting to whatever was in front of them. HFY saw a cluster of fighters converging on her port side. Logic said to turn away, maintain distance, use long-range weapons. Instead, she ordered her ship directly into them, firing at point-blank range. They scattered in confusion. They're not used to prey attacking, her tactical officer realized. Then let's be predators, HFY said. One of her frigates, the Resilience, took heavy damage, but instead of retreating, the captain did something insane. He rammed his wounded ship directly into a carrier vessel. Both ships exploded, but the carrier had been coordinating 36 fighters. When it died, those fighters lost coordination and became easy targets. On the colony below, citizens watched the battle through their sensors. They had called for help and been told to wait 3 days. Instead, 6 human ships had appeared within an hour. 6 ships against 1,000. The humans should have run. Everyone knew humans were cowards who avoided fair fights. But these humans were fighting like demons. They were outnumbered and didn't seem to care. They fought with a ferocity that terrified even the observers. Marine Corps leader Sung Ho watched the space battle from his transport ship. His unit had been doing training exercises nearby when the alert came through. Haewon's voice came over the comm. "Sung Ho, we've cleared a path. Can you get Marines onto that station? They have boarding parties inside." "Give me 2 minutes," Sung Ho replied. His transport blasted through the opening Haewon's ships had created. They docked with the station so hard it cracked the airlock, but it held. Sung Ho led his Marines through. Inside, they found chaos. The ground forces were insect-like creatures that moved on walls and ceilings. They ambushed from every angle. Galactic forces trained for ground combat in open areas, with clear lines of fire and proper formations. Sung Ho's Marines had trained in abandoned buildings, caves, and wreckage. They knew close-quarters combat. They knew how to fight when you couldn't see the enemy. They split into small teams and moved through the station like they were hunting, not defending. "Contact left," someone shouted, but by the time anyone could provide support, the Marine had already neutralized the threat. They didn't wait for backup. They didn't call for permission. They just fought. Security forces watched in amazement as these humans, these supposedly primitive Tier 3 warriors, cleared sections of the station that soldiers had abandoned. The humans seemed to enjoy the chaos. They turned it into an advantage. In space, Haewon's fleet had destroyed nearly 200 fighters, but they had also lost 2 ships. 4 frigates remained, all damaged. "The main swarm is moving on," her sensor officer reported, "heading deeper into galactic space." "Can we pursue?" Haewon asked. "Not in our condition. We need repairs." Haewon wanted to chase them. Every instinct screamed to keep fighting, but she had to be smart. "All ships dock at the station. We'll make repairs and reassess." As her ship approached the station, a communication came through. It was from Chancellor himself. "Commander Haewon," the leader said. His voice lacked its usual arrogance. "You saved 4 of our colonies. My people owe you a debt." "Just doing what's right," Haewon replied. "Your fleet is damaged. Your soldiers fought without proper support. The Council's response forces will arrive tomorrow. When they do," he paused. "When they do, I will recommend immediate status review for humanity." "We don't need your recommendation," Haewon said tiredly. "We're fine being Tier 3. "No," said quietly. "You're not. I was wrong about your species, profoundly wrong, and I will spend however long it takes correcting that error." The communication ended. Haewon looked at her crew. They were exhausted, wounded, barely holding together, but they were smiling. "Think the Council will listen?" her second-in-command asked. "Don't know, don't care." Haewon pulled up the tactical map. The swarm was heading toward the Council's core territories, toward worlds that had billions of inhabitants, toward forces that fought by the book. This was going to get much worse before it got better. Ambassador Dong sat in the neutral station's conference room and tried not to smile. Across from him, Chancellor looked like he had aged 10 years in the past 2 weeks. The stone-like skin had developed cracks. His glowing eyes were dimmer than before. "The situation is dire," began. "They have taken 12 systems in the past week. Our defense forces cannot adapt to their tactics. We are losing." Dong said nothing. He simply waited. Trade Master's crystals swirled nervously. "We are formally requesting military assistance from humanity. We understand there were difficulties in our previous interactions, but the galaxy needs unity now." "Unity," Dong repeated. "That's an interesting word. Is that what you called it when you downgraded us, cut off our trade, forced us to evacuate our colonies?" Captain Wu sat beside Dong. He had been asked to attend as military advisor. He watched the Council members squirm with satisfaction. "We made errors in judgment," admitted. Commander Haywan's actions showed us that humans are far more capable than we believed. One small battle, Dong said. 6 frigates. You want us to commit our entire fleet based on one battle. Your fleet shouldn't even exist, burst out, then caught himself. I mean, our intelligence suggests you have constructed over 300 new vessels in the past year, vessels with technology that surpasses our own. How is this possible for a Tier 3 species? Dr. Bora, also present as scientific advisor, smiled sweetly. We innovated. You remember innovation, that thing you said we couldn't do. The door opened and economic strategist entered, carrying data pads. She was young but brilliant. The council members didn't know it yet, but she had calculated humanity's exact leverage down to the decimal point. Apologies for being late, said, not sounding apologetic at all. She placed a pad in front of Dong. The latest figures from Galactic trade. Dong glanced at them and did smile this time. It seems several species have begun trading exclusively with human merchants. Even some colonies. Something about better prices and more reliable delivery. Crystals turned a darker shade. Those are illegal trade networks. They violate council sanctions. Your sanctions, corrected. Your restrictions. The species trading with us are simply choosing better partners. Free market economics. I thought they invented that concept. What do you want? Asked bluntly. Name your price for military assistance. Dong leaned back in his chair. This was the moment they had prepared for. Every simulation, every negotiation strategy, every possible outcome had been analyzed. Now came the real test. Humanity wants its status restored, he began. Not to Tier 2, to Tier 1. The room exploded. 3 different council members tried to speak at once, held up a hand for silence. Tier 1 status takes decades to achieve, he said. Centuries in some cases. Your species has only been in space for 200 years. And in that time, we've built a fleet superior to yours, established trade networks that are replacing your systems, and saved your colonies from destruction, Wu said. How much longer do you need to recognize reality? There are procedures, protested, reviews, assessments. You cannot simply demand. We can, Dong interrupted, because you need us more than we need you. Commander Haywan's battle proved that human tactics work against your AI-driven systematic warfare doesn't. Without our help, they will keep advancing. Your careful procedures will get billions killed. Dr. Bora pulled up a holographic display. We've analyzed the attack patterns. I won't bore you with the details, but essentially, they exploit the predictability of galactic defense systems. Your AIs are designed for logical warfare against logical opponents. They are chaos. And humans understand chaos, added. It's literally built into our culture. We've been fighting chaotic warfare since we first picked up sticks and stones. His eyes flickered. Tier 1 status alone is not enough to ask for such risk. No, Dong agreed. Which is why we're also asking for unrestricted technology development rights. No more reviews of our research. No more approval processes. We build what we want. Impossible, a delegate shouted. That could lead to weapons development, dangerous research. Like the weapons you're asking us to use against Wu asked calmly. You want our military but don't want us to develop military technology. Pick one. We also want reparations, said. The economic damage from your sanctions cost us approximately 400 billion credits in lost trade. We want that compensated. The council members looked physically ill. Crystals actually began to sink toward the table. This is extortion, he said. This is negotiation, Dong corrected. You can accept our terms or we can return to our space and let you handle the yourselves. Your choice. We need time to discuss, started. An alarm blared. Everyone jumped. A holographic display appeared showing a star map. A massive red blob was moving across it like spreading blood. The just took the system, an aide announced. 3 billion inhabitants. The defense fleet was destroyed in 40 minutes. The room went silent. Was a major galactic hub. 40 minutes was nothing. The entire engagement would have been over before proper council procedures could even mobilize a response. How long until they reach your core worlds? Wu asked quietly. 4 days, said, his voice hollow. Maybe 5 if they stop to consume the population. Then you don't have time to discuss, Dong said. Accept our terms now, or in 4 days you won't have a government to accept anything. Looked at the other council members. Some looked angry, others looked desperate. A few looked calculating, already thinking about how to minimize humanity's gains after the crisis passed. But they were running out of options. If we agree, said carefully, how quickly can you mobilize? Admiral Min, Wu said. A holographic image of the Admiral appeared. He had been watching the negotiation from Earth. We have 200 ships ready to deploy immediately. Another 100 can be ready in 12 hours. Full mobilization would give you our entire fleet of 350 vessels within 24 hours. 350, repeated. Our intelligence said. Your intelligence is always 6 months behind, Min said. We've been busy. Can you stop them? Asked. Can you actually defeat them? Min's expression hardened. Ask me again in 72 hours. Dong stood up. We need your answer, Chancellor. Do we have a deal? Looked at the star map. The red blob was still growing. Behind it, dozens of systems had gone dark, billions dead. The Galactic Council's careful procedures, their measured responses, their systematic warfare, all useless. He thought about Commander Haywon's 6 frigates, how they had fought without hesitation, how they had adapted instantly to every change in the battle, how they had won because they didn't think like the Council expected. We accept your terms, he said quietly, all of them. In writing, said immediately, pulling out a contract. Digital signatures from all Council members present. We want this official. They signed, every one of them. Some did it quickly, wanting to move past the humiliation. Others signed slowly, clearly resenting every word. When it was done, Dong collected the signed documents and nodded to his team. Admiral Min, you are authorized to deploy, he said. Show them what humanity can do. With pleasure, Min said. As the human delegation left the conference room, Captain Wu fell into step beside Dong. Think they'll honor the agreement after this is over? Wu asked quietly. Some will try to back out, Dong admitted. They'll claim emergency circumstances, say they were coerced. And we'll remind them that we saved the galaxy, that we have the strongest military and the best technology, that we no longer need their approval for anything, Dong smiled. They wanted to downgrade us. They wanted to teach us humility. Instead, they taught us that we're better off without them. Dr. Bora joined them in the corridor. They are still advancing. Even with our fleet, this won't be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is, Dong said. But if humans are good at anything, it's winning fights we shouldn't be able to win. They walked toward the docking bay where their ship waited. Behind them, the Council continued their emergency session. But the real power had shifted. Everyone knew it. The downgrade had failed, spectacularly. Admiral Min stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable and watched 350 human warships form into attack formations. They surrounded Omega Prime Station like a shield made of steel and fire. Beyond them, the swarm approached like a dark wave of death. Contact in 30 minutes, his tactical officer reported. Enemy count is hard to calculate, at least 10,000 individual ships, possibly more. 10,000 against 350. Bad odds by any measure, but Min had been watching the Galactic Fleet's failures for the past 2 weeks. He understood what they had done wrong. Open channel to all ships, he ordered. This is Admiral Min. In a few minutes, we're going to fight the biggest battle humanity has ever seen. The Galactic Council couldn't stop the You know why? Because they fought like machines. Like everything could be calculated and predicted. But war isn't math, it's chaos. And humans own chaos. He paused, looking at the swarm on his display. Every captain has full tactical freedom. No formation requirements. No engagement protocols. You see a target, you take it. You see an opportunity, you exploit it. They think chaos is their advantage. Today we show them they're wrong. Today we show them what happens when humans decide to fight. Engage at will. Commander Hayone had been given command of the fighter wings. Her frigate had been repaired and upgraded with the latest weapons. She led a squadron of 90 fighters toward the edge of the swarm. "Remember your training," she told her pilots. "Don't think, react. The moment you try to predict what they'll do, you've already lost. Trust your instincts, trust each other. Now let's go hunt." The human fleet hit the swarm like a hammer. But instead of staying together, the ships immediately spread out. Each vessel became an independent hunter. They wove through the enemy formation, targeting command ships and coordination nodes that they didn't even know they were revealing. On Earth, Dr. Bora watched from the research facility. She had spent the past 48 hours analyzing every piece of biology she could find. There had to be a weakness. Everything had a weakness. And she had found it. "They aren't individuals," she explained to her team. "Each ship contains hundreds of organisms, but they share a collective consciousness. They coordinate through biological signals, disrupt those signals, and they become uncoordinated," one of her researchers finished. "Exactly." She pulled up a molecular structure. "This compound should interfere with their neural network. I'm transmitting the formula to the Marine assault teams now." In space, Marine leader Sung Ho received the transmission. His teams were preparing to board Hive ships, the massive vessels that coordinated whole sections of the swarm. "New orders," he told his Marines. "Dr. Bora has found a weakness. We're not just clearing these ships, we're poisoning them. These chemical grenades will disrupt their coordination. Every Hive ship we take down means hundreds of fighters go rogue." His transport blasted through the battle toward the nearest Hive ship. Around him, the space battle raged like nothing he had ever seen. Human ships moved like angry wasps, striking and retreating, never staying still. They tried to swarm individual vessels, but the humans refused to be surrounded. They fought in a way that made no tactical sense but somehow worked. The transport docked with the Hive ship. Sung Ho led his Marines inside. The interior looked like the inside of an insect nest, all organic walls and twisting passages. Warriors charged at them from every direction. "Chemical grenades every intersection," Sung Ho ordered. The Marines threw the grenades as they advanced. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Warriors stopped mid-charge, confused and disoriented. Their coordination broke down. They began attacking each other. "It's working," one Marine shouted. They fought their way to the heart of the Hive ship. There they found the central coordination node, a massive biological computer made of living tissue. Sung Ho placed a shaped charge directly against it. "Everyone out, now." They ran. The charge detonated. The Hive ship shuddered and went dark. Outside, 300 fighters suddenly lost coordination and began drifting aimlessly. Hayone saw it happen and immediately understood. All fighter wings target the Hive ships. Marines are disrupting their coordination. Every Hive we take down makes this easier. The battle shifted. Human fighters began targeting the larger Hive ships while the capital ships kept the swarm occupied. It was still chaotic, still desperate, but now humanity had a strategy that worked. Engineer Wu watched from her design station on Earth. She had equipped every ship with her new engines, and now she saw them being pushed to their limits. Captains were making jumps that should have been impossible, point-blank FTL hops that let them appear behind enemy formations or escape from being surrounded. "They're overheating the drives," her assistant warned. "Let them," Wu said. I designed those engines to be abused. Humans don't need perfect equipment. We need equipment that can survive us. Admiral Min coordinated the larger battle from the Indomitable. He watched patterns in the chaos that others would miss. When they tried to concentrate their forces, he had ships jump in behind them. When they split up, he had his fleet converge and destroy isolated groups. "Sir, we've lost 12 ships," his aide reported. "And they've lost over 2,000, Min replied. "What's the status on the Hive ships?" "Marines have neutralized 17 so far. Sung Ho's teams are incredible." "Then we keep pushing." Min pulled up a tactical map. The swarm was breaking apart. Without coordination, they were just angry insects, dangerous but manageable. "All ships advance. Hay-1, take your fighters deep. Find their queen ship." Hay-1's squadron dove into the thickest part of the swarm. She had a theory. Every hive needed a queen. They must have a central command vessel somewhere, something coordinating all the hive ships. "There," her sensor operator said. "That massive signature in the center. It's 10 times bigger than the hive ships." "That's our target," Hay-1 keyed her calm. "All fighters with me. We're going to cut off the head of this snake." They blasted through wave after wave of fighters. Ships exploded around her. She lost count of how many near misses she survived. Her fighter took damage that should have destroyed it, but she kept flying through pure determination. The queen ship was massive. It looked like a mountain that had learned to fly. But it was also surprisingly undefended. They had never needed to protect it before. Their swarm tactics always kept enemies far away. They hadn't counted on humans being crazy enough to dive straight through their entire fleet. "Torpedoes locked," Hay-1 said. "Fire everything." 90 fighters launched their entire payload at once. The queen ship's organic armor absorbed most of it, but not all. Cracks appeared in its hull. Atmosphere vented into space. "It's not enough," someone said. "Then we get closer." Hay-1 armed her fighters' self-destruct sequence. "All pilots, this is voluntary. I'm going to ram it. Anyone who wants to join me, now's the time." 83 pilots armed their self-destruct, without hesitation, without fear. "Negative," Min's voice cut through. Hay-1, new orders, get clear, we're firing the main cannon. The Indomitable had been holding back its primary weapon, an experimental energy lance that Dr. Boraz's team had designed. It used so much power that it could only fire once per battle. "All ships create a firing line," Min ordered. "Hay-1, you have 10 seconds." The fighters scattered. The Indomitable's main cannon charged with a sound like reality tearing. Then it fired. The beam cut through space like a sword made of light. It hit the queen ship dead center and kept going. The massive vessel split in half. Both halves exploded seconds later. Across the entire swarm, every ship stopped moving. Then they began firing on each other. Total chaos. Without the queen, the hive ships couldn't coordinate. Without the hives, individual ships just attacked anything nearby. "All ships finish them," Min ordered. The battle became a cleanup operation. Human ships hunted down isolated vessels. The few that tried to retreat were tracked and destroyed. By the end, not a single ship remained. Min looked at the casualty reports. 23 ships lost, over 4,000 human lives, but they had saved Omega Prime, saved the Council, saved the galaxy. "Open a channel to the Galactic Council," he said. Chancellor appeared on the display. He looked stunned. "They are neutralized," Min reported. "We'll send cleanup crews to handle the debris. Omega Prime is secure." "You did it," whispered. "You actually did it." "Of course we did. You paid for our services." Min allowed himself a small smile. "Remember our agreement, Chancellor, Tier 1 status, full rights, reparations." "You will have everything promised, and more," straightened. "The Council is calling an emergency session. We will formally recognize humanity's new status within hours." "Appreciated," Min ended the call. 6 months later, Ambassador Dong stood in the same grand assembly hall where humanity had been downgraded. But everything was different now. He stood on the main platform, at the same level as the other Tier 1 species. The seats reserved for Tier 3 species were far below and behind them. The Council recognizes humanity's achievements, announced. You have proven yourselves worthy of Tier 1 status. Your military prowess, technological innovation, and diplomatic skill have earned you a permanent seat on this council. Dong looked out at the assembly. Many species applauded. Some looked resentful. The looked calculating, already thinking about trade opportunities. Thank you, Chancellor, Dong said, but I have a proposal. The room went quiet. This tier system is broken, he continued. It assumes some species are better than others. That advancement follows a single path. They proved that wrong. They proved that different approaches have value, that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. He pulled up a holographic display showing a new structure. I propose we dissolve the tier system entirely, replace it with a coalition of independent species, equal votes, equal rights, equal respect. That's impossible, someone protested. How would we maintain standards? The same way humans did after you downgraded us, Dr. Bora said, stepping up beside Dong. By letting each species develop according to their strengths, by sharing technology freely, by competing through innovation, not politics. Several species have already expressed interest in this coalition, added, though even some colonies. Crystals swirled. You're trying to destroy the council. We're trying to save it, Captain Wu said. The old system almost got everyone killed. Time for something new. The debate raged for hours, but in the end the vote passed. Barely, but it passed. 1 year after the downgrade, the Galactic Council was dissolved. In its place, the coalition of free species was born. No tiers, no restrictions, just cooperation between equals. Dong stood in the observation deck and watched ships from 100 species dock at the station. Human vessels mixed freely with alien ones. No one checking clearances. No one enforcing hierarchies. You did it, Wu said, joining him. Changed the entire galaxy. We did it, Dong corrected. Every human who refused to give up, who kept fighting, who showed them we were more than they thought. Think they learned their lesson. Dong smiled. They downgraded us thinking we were weak. Instead, they freed us from their restrictions, motivated us to become stronger, forced us to innovate. They created their own worst nightmare. Or their best ally, Wu suggested. That too, Dong turned away from the window. Come on. The next coalition meeting starts in an hour, and unlike the old council, we actually have to convince people instead of commanding them. Sounds harder. Sounds human. They walked away together, leaving the old galaxy behind and stepping into a new one. A galaxy where humanity hadn't just survived being downgraded. They had thrived. They had won. And they had changed everything.